We live in an age of endless stimulation. Scroll once, and 100 new distractions appear. Another video, another notification, another quick fix of dopamine. And yet, have you noticed? The more options we have, the less alive we feel. You have the music, but no song moves you. You have the friends, but the conversations fall flat. You chase one thrill after another, but when the noise fades, all that remains is emptiness. Carl Jung called this the dark night of the soul. Not depression, not laziness, but the moment when the surface world can no longer feed the depths of who you are. This emptiness is not your enemy. It is your invitation, an ancient summons to stop chasing and start listening, to face the shadow and begin the journey of becoming whole. The emptiness beneath endless stimulation. Everywhere you turn, the world offers stimulation, music in your ears, news on your screen, endless feeds, endless choices, endless noise. And yet, in quiet moments, you feel it. That strange, suffocating truth. Nothing is truly satisfying anymore. Carl Jung warned us, people will do anything, work, drink, scroll, consume, to avoid facing their own souls. But the soul does not vanish, it waits. And when distractions lose their power, the soul begins to speak. You call it boredom, you call it burnout, but Jung called it something sacred, the dark night of the soul. It is not the end of life's meaning, it is the death of the persona, the mask you wore to please the world, the achiever, the good child, the strong one. The mask is cracking, and beneath it, something ancient stirs, your true self, the one who refuses to be fed by likes, checklists, or shallow rewards, the one who aches for depth, for truth, for presence. And this emptiness you fear is not emptiness at all. It is a voice, a summons, a silent knock at the door of your being saying, "Wake up. You were not born for distraction. You were born for transformation." And this is why nothing feels interesting anymore. The death of persona. Carl Jung taught that each of us wears a mask, a persona. It is the face we show to the world. Polite, capable, successful, safe. The persona is not evil. It is necessary. It helps us survive society. It helps us belong. But when the mask becomes the only face we know, we begin to forget who we really are. And here lies the crisis. When the persona no longer fits, when the mask cracks under the weight of life. You wake up one morning and realize the role you play no longer gives you life. The career that once made you proud now feels hollow. The relationships built on performance now feel empty. Even your hobbies, your pleasures, your escapes lose their flavor. This is the death of persona. And it feels like dying, because everything that once gave you meaning is stripped away. But Jung insisted, this is not the end. It is the beginning. The collapse of persona is terrifying because it leaves you naked. No mask to hide behind. No script to follow, only the raw encounter with yourself. This is why people call it emptiness, why they panic, why they reach for more distractions, more roles, more masks. But Jung would say, do not run. Do not rebuild the mask. Let it fall apart. Because only in that collapse does the true self have a chance to emerge. Not the image the world rewarded, not the role you thought you had to play, but the deeper you, untamed, undeniable, real. So when nothing feels interesting anymore, when every mask slips and every role fails, remember, this is not meaning lost. This is meaning waiting, to be born. Meeting the shadow. When the persona dies, you expect freedom, you expect light, you expect a new beginning. But Jung warned us, before the light comes the shadow. The shadow is everything you denied in yourself, the anger you swallowed, the envy you pretended not to feel, the fears you buried, the wounds you never tended. As long as the persona was intact, the shadow could hide behind your achievements, behind your politeness, behind your masks. But when the mask shatters, the shadow steps forward. And this is why emptiness feels so frightening, because in that silence, all the voices you silenced begin to speak. You hear your loneliness. You feel your unhealed grief. You sense the rage you've carried for years. All the darkness you denied suddenly fills the room. Most people run at this point, back into distraction, back into shallow pleasures, back into the illusion of the mask. But Jung insisted, this confrontation is necessary. The shadow is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It holds the pieces of yourself you abandoned, your fire, your creativity, your passion, even your capacity to love without fear. To meet the shadow is terrifying, because it shows you truths you swore you didn't have. But to integrate the shadow is to reclaim your wholeness. Jung put it simply. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So if emptiness has led you into darkness, know this: you are not lost. You are meeting the part of yourself that has been waiting all along. And beyond this meeting, beyond this shadow, the real journey begins. The dark night of the soul. At this stage, many believe they are depressed. They say, something is wrong with me. I can't feel joy. Nothing excites me anymore. But Jung drew a line. He said, this emptiness is not always an illness. Sometimes it is initiation. Mystics before Jung called it the dark night of the soul, not a pathology, not a breakdown, but a sacred passage, a dying that makes room for new life. In this night, the old self crumbles. Your ambitions no longer motivate you. Your persona no longer protects you. Even your pleasures taste like ash. It feels like death, because it is, the death of everything false. Jung explained, when the outer structures collapse, the psyche withdraws energy from the mask and forces it inward. This is why you feel disconnected from the world. The energy of your life is descending into the depths, preparing to rebuild from the ground of your soul. The dark night strips you bare. It leaves you without distraction, without comfort, without illusion, so that, at last, you can face what is real. Most resist. They fight to resurrect the old life. More work, more noise, more escapes. But those who endure, those who dare to walk through this night, emerge transformed. Because the dark night is not punishment. It is purification. It is the furnace where the ego dies and the self begins to rise. As Jung wrote, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything to avoid their soul, but only by facing the night does the dawn appear. So if you are here, lost in the silence, stripped of joy, feeling the death of who you were, know this: it is not the end. It is the threshold. The dark night of the soul is not your grave. It is your womb. The return of presence. After the dark night, you expect fireworks, a grand revelation, a sudden explosion of joy. But Jung noticed something different. Life does not return in a blaze. It returns in whispers, in moments so small, you almost overlook them. The first sign is subtle, a deep breath that feels nourishing. The way sunlight falls across your face. The taste of simple food, actually reaching you again. No drama, no thrill, just presence. Jung called this the rebirth of the ordinary, because after shadow and emptiness, your soul no longer craves constant stimulation. It longs for what is real. You notice the quiet comfort of a friend's voice, the rhythm of your own footsteps on the earth, a song that doesn't excite you wildly but somehow makes you feel at home. This is how life returns, not as entertainment, but as being. Jung taught that the persona seeks performance, but the self seeks presence. And when the self begins to awaken, small things are no longer small. They are doorways, sacraments, everyday miracles. The world has not changed, but your way of seeing has, and in this shift, emptiness transforms into fullness. The absence of thrill becomes the presence of depth. This is the quiet resurrection, the moment you realize life was never missing. You were, and now you have returned. Individuation, becoming more fully yourself. So what is the purpose of all this? The emptiness, the shadow, the dark night, the quiet return of presence. Jung gave it a name: individuation. Individuation is not about becoming perfect. It is not about finding constant happiness. It is not about escaping pain. It is about becoming whole, integrating light and darkness, strength and vulnerability, the mask you once wore and the true self beneath it. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And this is the gift of emptiness. When nothing outside you feels interesting anymore, it forces you to look within, to meet your shadow, to let old identities die, to walk through the night of the soul, until you emerge not as a mask, not as a role, but as yourself. The individuated self does not chase stimulation. It does not live for applause. It does not collapse under emptiness. It stands, rooted, present, alive. You become capable of joy again, but not the shallow joy of distraction, the deep joy of presence, of connection, of living in alignment with your own soul. This is not the end of struggle, but it is the end of pretending, the end of living someone else's life, and the beginning of living your own. So if you feel lost, if nothing excites you, if the world feels gray, take heart. Your soul is not dying, it is calling, and the journey you are on is not toward escape. It is toward wholeness. It is toward individuation. It is toward becoming, finally, and fully, yourself. So here we are, at the end of this journey together. We have walked through the emptiness, seen the death of persona, faced the shadow, endured the dark night of the soul, witnessed the quiet return of presence, and arrived at individuation, the sacred task of becoming whole. And maybe you recognize yourself in these words. Maybe you too have felt the silence after the noise, the dullness after distraction, the emptiness that refuses to be filled. If so, know this: you are not broken, you are being called. The very emptiness you fear is the doorway to your true life. Carl Jung taught us that the soul will not be ignored. It whispers through dreams, through symptoms, through the feeling that nothing is interesting anymore. And when we finally listen, we discover that emptiness was never the end. It was the beginning. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt this dark night of the soul? Have you reached a moment when nothing brought you joy, only to realize it was your soul asking for more? Share your story in the comments below. Your words may become the mirror someone else desperately needs tonight. And if this journey has spoken to you, please like this video, subscribe for more explorations into Jungian psychology and the path of individuation, and share it with someone who may be lost in the silence right now. Because together, we can build a space where depth is not feared, where the shadow is not denied, and where the quiet truths of the soul are finally honored. Remember, the path is not about finding endless excitement. It is about becoming whole. It is about becoming fully yourself, and that is the privilege of a lifetime.